Oh, hey, deserving listeners. Do these look familiar? My wife got these for me for Christmas as a joke, but I like them because you can't tell how much I've drank in a particular moment. There's nothing in it, actually. This is just a prop. I'm not drinking wine. That would be ridiculous. 90 Day Fiancé, happily ever after. Tell all, no limits. Let's watch.
Oh, gosh.
Can you read that for us, please?
I hope all is well. You look amazing. She says thanks. He says, I want to come to the Philippines again to see you if you're open.
All right, so this is a screenshot, allegedly, of Rose's phone that she submitted to the show, showing that Ed, in summer of 2021, I'm just going to take a guess and say that this was during a time when Ed and Liz were not together, because I think there was a pretty big chunk of time when they weren't together. Now, I'm not defending Ed, I want to be clear, but I just don't think that he's the type. He hasn't really shown. Now, anyone can cheat. But I don't know, it just doesn't really fit. So I would either imagine that he wasn't with Liz at the time, and I would also imagine that he could have been thinking that, because I doubt he wants to be with Rose. I doubt that that's something that he wants. But I could imagine that he might want to get something going maybe for the show again. You could imagine Ed, even at the encouragement of the producers, like, hey, if you get something going with Rose again, maybe we could film that. Maybe it'll be a couple episodes, or what if you got back together, or you tried to get back together, or something, or you got in a fight, it'd be good TV. I don't know this, of course. There's no data, and I don't like to usually think along these lines, but I think that some of the people on the show are not only looking for love. I think Ed and Liz are a legit couple, but I also think that it would be weird if they didn't think about, especially someone like Ed, who's been on several seasons, it would be weird if he didn't think, how do I milk this for my benefit? How do I get the most money, get the most fame so that I can build my business or my brand? He sells stickers of himself and that kind of, I don't know how much money he makes, but Stephanie and Erica, Stephanie, the fart girl, she sells farts in jars. She literally sells farts in jars. When I say that out loud, it sounds like I'm besmirching her name, but that's literally how she's made, I think, like $1 million or something. So she would not have sold very many farts, if any, at all, if she wasn't on the show for at least 2 seasons, if not 3. I'm just speculating, of course, but I just doubt that he was cheating on Liz. We'll see what she says, because there's a date there. Now, I will say, though, that Ed was saying in last week's episode that he never reached out to Rose. And then when he was confronted on it, as he started to detect, they probably have screenshots or something, he started saying, well, I don't remember. And it's like, how do you not remember reaching out to Rose? I mean, that would be a pretty big deal. So, yeah, I interact with a lot of people. Well, it seems like that would be something that would stick out. It's possible that he doesn't remember, but it, seems shady that he would say it. But anyway, let's see what happens.
Wow.
I mean, at the very least, if you're Liz, this would be very worrisome in that you have a partner that would just straight up lie to your face about something. That's often the most destructive part of this. I don't think Rose and Ed actually got together, or there was even any kind of actual flirtation, but the fact that Ed would just straight up lie to Liz and everyone else, then it raises a lot of questions like, well, what else are you lying about? That's the destructive nature of lying. Lying. Don't lie, people. Don't lie. Ed, stop lying.
You just said that you were in communication with her.
Liz, sit down. Jesus
Did
Christ.
he not just say that he
did.
hasn't spoken to her? Did you? Say yes or no. Did you or did you not just say, I have not?
If Ed is going to be consistent with his personality, then what he will, I think, be interpreting this as is not only an attack on his integrity or on his self-esteem and the esteem that other people have for him. He seems fairly concerned about how other people see him, which everyone is, but I think he's more so. Also, He's, I think, terrified of losing his attachments, which we all are, but I think he's particularly worried about that. This is so we can use this as a jumping off point. Whenever your partner does something, or your parents or your kids or people that are close to you in your life that do something that's really aggravating to you in relationships like this, 99 times out of 100, in my experience, it's because the person is actively trying to retain a relationship with you. Lying, for example. I don't know why he would lie, but I would put a lot of money down, which would be a weird bet. But imagine if we had those kind of bets in Vegas, where you could, did Ed do it for this reason? Anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if the reason why Ed lied and said he didn't talk to Rose was because he doesn't want to lose Liz. He's lying because he calculates that if he tells the truth, Liz is going to be hurt and upset and angry, and it will lead to Liz leaving Ed. So he lies. But of course, the defense of trying to retain the attachment actually can cause Liz to actually leave, because when you lie, people tend to want to move away from you, at least temporarily. And it's a bit of a stretch of the imagination that if Ed said, yeah, I've reached out to her while we were broken up, or I don't know, sometimes I have a couple glasses of wine and I just want to connect with my ex. I'm not trying to get with her or anything, but I just kind of, I don't know, just want to chat, just be friends. It's a big stretch of the imagination to imagine that Liz would like throw up her hands and walk away from Ed at that point. I mean, the amount of stuff that she's put up from him, you just can't really imagine that. So, but Ed has exhibited such seemingly irrational interpretations of attachment loss predictions in the past. Anyway, that's a weird sentence. So right now, Liz is saying, I can't believe you lied to me. And so he, in all likelihood, is, oh crap, not only am I being attacked on my persona, but I'm also potentially going to lose Liz, and I don't want to do that. So I have to kick into high gear, and my high gear is to come across as arrogant, talking down, dominate, act like I'm the mature one, talking to a child. Okay, I get it. You're upset. That kind of attitude. And he'll do that thing with his eyes. He's, I'm listening to you. Or he'll deflect, right? He'll say, well, that one time you lied to me, or it's not a big deal, Liz, like, let it go. There's a talking down to. So one, we'll see what he does here. Two, more importantly, think about in your own life, not only people in your life that do this. If you understand that about other people, it gives you a pathway. Obviously, going to therapy is the answer most often. But also, you do this as well. It's so much easier to say, my partner does this. We all do this. I do this. When I feel like I'm about to lose my wife, which is usually completely irrational, well, I would say 100% it's been irrational that I've had that worry that somehow, oh no, she's about to divorce me, or she's about to break up with me or something, but those feelings are down there. It's not a conscious thought, right? But it's a thought, it's a feeling, it's a worry. And then these defense mechanisms kick in. You have your defenses to that. It's called an attachment style. That's why they call it attachment style. It's the style at which you attach and the style at which you retain your attachments. Even securely attached individuals will have defenses that are destructive and irrational and distorted. So you can think about, what do you do? And if it's one thing that you've ever done while watching these videos, is taking time to think about that. And I can't imagine that you would just know that. Now, some of you have studied it. You're a therapist yourself, or researchers yourself, or read books on attachment style and all that kind of stuff, or gone to a lot of therapy. But if you don't really know, take the time, pause it now, or think of the last 3 times. When was the last time you felt like your partner was judging you? So when we're being judged, when our partner is judging us, like, oh, you're stupid, or you're irresponsible, or you're too uptight, or you aren't sexual enough, or you don't dress well enough, or you're not clean enough. It's fine for people to criticize us if we feel like we're not going to be abandoned, right? If someone criticizes, for example, my cooking ability, that's fine, because I'm a terrible cook, 1, and 2, I know that no one is with me because of my cooking, And I'm guessing that for some of you, those 3 times were literally just this past week, or even just yesterday. For some of you, you might have to think back like a couple months, but it shouldn't be something you have to think about a long ways. Now, if you have big ones 5 years ago that you want to think about, that's okay too. Anyway, so identify 3 times when you think subconsciously you were worried that your partner was about to leave you. And it wouldn't be something like they literally were about to leave you, like they're getting a divorce. It's some sort of pre-indication of abandonment and breaking up, but wasn't necessarily right. Probably wasn't right. Okay, identify those 2 things. Then review and write down the thoughts that you had in your mind, the kind of sentences like, well, my partner's too judgmental, or my partner, she is not very clean either. She's accusing me of not picking up stuff after myself. Well, write out all that, because those thoughts are often indications of feelings, but also the beginnings of a defense, because you have the thoughts and then it starts to motivate behavior. And then also jot down all the behaviors that you said, the sort of things you said. Try to also imagine the tone that you're having and the facial expression. Do you shut down? Do you attack? Do you defend? Do you smokescreen? Do you plead? Do you avoid? Do you triangulate? Do you go to someone else so that they will attack that person? And so if it's one thing that you have ever learned from these videos, learning that would be important to me. Is that you have spent at least some time in therapy or otherwise trying to figure that out. Because when you figure that out for yourself, it can change your life. Once you have that awareness, so many things start opening up in terms of fixing your life and your relationships and your attachment, your mood, your sleep, your sexual life, your self-esteem, your trauma recovery, your support system, everything. Because when you don't understand that, it really throws a wrench in relationships. When you do understand that, you have a pathway to actually moving past conflicts in a healthy way. And once we have secure attachments in our life, all these things start to improve. Like I said, mood, sleep, diet, support system, well-being, depression, anxiety, longevity. We live longer when we have secure attachments. There's just so many wonderful things, meaning, purpose. So yeah, that's me rambling about that. And let me know how that goes for you. Email or comment below. I'm curious what that is.
Spoken to her.
Me no speak English.
What the?
Yikes. Okay, let's rewind because I was yammering.
You just said that you were in communication with her.
Liz, sit down. Jesus
Did
Christ.
he not just say that he
did.
hasn't spoken to her? Did you? Say yes or no. Did you or did you not just say, I have not spoken to her?
Me no speak English.
I think this is another version of his smokescreen method, which is any way to get out of it other than to admit that he did something wrong. So when people are treated a certain way when they're growing up, and I won't review it all over again because I've talked about it before, they develop a coping mechanism to deal with the feeling of worthlessness that they are being shown. They're being treated like they're worthless, that they prop up this thin veil of self-esteem that's based on this delusion that they're perfect and they're wonderful and everyone loves them and they're superior and they're better than other people. It's a very thin barrier between awareness and what's really going on underneath, which is a vast sea of worthlessness and pain and agony. When the veil is attacked, you have to have a way of attacking back. And so I think that's what's happening here. I also think that the way I interpret this, and I can't know unless I worked with Ed, is that strangely, this is his way of trying to retain his relationship with Liz, trying to get her to not abandon him. But of course, the fences shoot ourselves in the foot, but let's watch.
Spoken to her. Did you? Say yes or no. Did you or did you not just say, I have not spoken to her?
Me no speak English.
What the? You know what? It's not something to joke about, Ed.
It is, because this is her. This is who Liz is.
She's reading the proof is.
This is her. This is who Liz is. Now, maybe he can elaborate and I'll understand what he's talking about, but if he has a point to make, maybe there's a point there. But he should, at the very least, acknowledge, yeah, or at the very least say, you know what, I wasn't lying earlier. I literally don't remember talking to Rose. But now that I think about it and I see those screenshots, yeah, I did. And yeah, but I wasn't lying. Like, he could say something like that, and that would be coherent at the very least. And then he can make a point about Liz's personality. But that's not what's happening, right? So it gets super shady. It looks very obviously like a tactic to derail Liz. This kind of behavior can lead to a gaslighting scenario. People will throw this out. In fact, I'm sure people are saying that Ed is literally gaslighting her right now. Gaslighting, the clinical term, is a phenomenon in which an abusive individual, usually not knowing that they're doing this super consciously, but sometimes it is a conscious effort to get the victim to not trust their gauge on reality. And you can't gaslight someone in one moment, but the way people talk about it in popular culture right now is you can gaslight someone just in a discrete moment in time. There's no way you can break down someone's trust in their ability to gauge reality in one fight. You have to go on a campaign, usually for months, if not years, to break that down. So could this be an example of an ongoing campaign to gaslight someone? It could be. I wonder how Liz is doing with that, though. But yeah, yikes. This is a huge yikes. For a while, I had some optimism about Ed. But as this season progresses, I have less, particularly at this tell-all, less and less optimism about his ability to differentiate and not be this way, which you could, on the nicest way you could frame this is that he's being problematic and combative on the one, but you could also frame this as abusive. The way he talks to her, talking down to her, me no speak English, racist is another. Yikes. All right, well, that is it for that episode. If you want to become a patron of the podcast, that'd be great. When you email in questions or even just inquiries of any sort and you're a patron, you're much more likely to get responses because we get a lot of emails these days, and I wish I could respond to every single email. I really, really do. I wish I could clone myself and do that. That's one of the first things I would tell my clone to do is, okay, answer every email because, I don't know, it's just nice to get to know everyone. So I have to limit what I respond to because of time. And if you're a patron, you're much more likely to get a response. So keep that in mind if you want to. And, only become a patron if you can afford it and if you want to do it and if it makes sense to you. So, I don't want to pressure anyone ever for any reason. And take care of yourself. I'll pressure you to do that, I guess. Take care of yourself. Really do it because you deserve it. You really, really do.